we're going to try and pick back up on a merge request that I think I started 6 months ago, a year ago, a long, long time ago as a community member. Marco is kindly taking the reins and going to try and sit over the finish line. So
Hopefully.
um, I I don't think you haven't actually added me as a reviewer, have you, Marco? Or
I don't remember.
because I have a
No.
feeling no, but you had asked me, you pinged me on it. Maybe if you want to add me as a reviewer while you're there, actually, just because um, it's kind of dropped off of my to-do list somehow. Maybe when I replied to your request for a review, the comment that I sent then removed my to-do.
Oh,
um,
probably yes.
but yeah, do you want to sort of
Yeah,
ask the questions that you had probably asked on the MR and yeah,
yeah, because
like
I this is kind of in a state that's the basic functionality is there, really basic, but there are some things that um, I don't know what direction we want to take
mhm.
and what to consider an MVC. Because for me, this could be right as an MVC as it is, and just put it behind the feature flag and it's straight over
Yep.
because it's already quite substantial. So going, let me have a look at my comment because I don't remember.
I'm definitely in favour of that. I obviously need to have a bit more of a look with you at the detail, but I don't think we need sexy filtered search
Yeah,
drop downs and the like.
yeah, exactly. Because there's going to be quite, for example, if we want to do grouping by issues or by issuables and stuff like that, that's going to go really down the line. So, just a little recap on what's available right now on the global time tracking report, because this is
Yep.
global. This is not scoped to any project
Yep.
or group. There's the pagination, and that's working back and forth,
Beautiful.
and layout of the page is slightly tweaked because the filter search is it was only a list before. We were missing the title and stuff like that. And I did clean up the table a little bit because for now I hid all the CRM stuff, which was basically the company,
Mm-hmm.
and I cleaned up a little bit of the columns. For example, I merged together namespace and project because group and project on namespace, and that's a link to the namespace. And we also have links to issuables and the state of the issuable on each time log.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the main things that I did.
Okay.
The step forward is we already talked about this, but my intention is to put this behind the feature flag
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because that would allow us to make changes without needing to wait for a milestone to get.
The term you're looking for is iterate more fast or more quickly or
Yes.
yeah, 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 absolutely.
Yeah, because we don't have to worry about breaking stuff and things like that. And the next thing is I really want to clean up the filter up at the top because I really do think that we will need a filtered search.
Yep, agreed.
And because the fields that we want to support filtering for are quite a lot, because
Yep.
we want to filter by date, to by username, project group, and all that stuff.
Yep.
And I'm also wonder, because I did try to look for, to search for that. Do you know if there's any place that we are creating a drop down to select a project or a group or something like that in Vue, because I wanted to create these two, basically merge these two fields right now into a drop down.
It's really, really funny you should ask that, because I had a pairing session. I'm hoping. Oh, did I record it? Let me find a merge request for you.
Yeah.
I have exactly the same question for the, what do I call it? Configurable commit emails. So let me find the relevant. Yeah, essentially, it's something that you can configure at a namespace level, i.e. a group or a project.
Yeah.
And I had a session with Lucas with IP from the GitLab team, a front end pairing session a while ago, and we were digging through the code base trying to find, is there a component or what's the best way to do it. But I'm just trying to. Okay, there's not a merge request yet, so I think.
Okay.
No, but there's definitely some notes, but I'm just trying to find where those notes are. I think they're probably on the issue then. So I just want to make sure I do share that with you before. It's quite big. Okay, here you go. I can't copy a link to a note when I'm not logged in. How annoying is that? Let me.
A link to a note? Oh.
Yeah, you have to be logged into GitLab, so I'm just going to have to jump through some two-factor authentication.
Well, you're not sharing your screen, so.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I just sent you on Discord. I've just sent the what's it while I log in.
Let me see how I can get to Discord without a little inception.
Hey, Nicholas.
Hi, Nicholas.
Hi.
You didn't miss much. Just me and Marco rambling as always.
Yeah, I was following on Twitch until I got the link.
Awesome, thank you.
Where is the discussion? Oh, this is
right. It'll be right at the beginning. Sorry, right at the beginning, right at the end.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because 3 months ago. Yeah.
No, keep going.
Oh. Sorry. Okay. Check whether else we used to. Is this really related?
Yeah, because it's exactly the same problem. We're trying to find a Vue component that allows us to select projects and groups. Unfortunately, we can't seem to find one. I don't think it exists, which is really surprising. So that's the kind of best, closest thing that we found.
The namespace selector?
Yeah, but that is only for groups.
And I think I used this probably for the move issuables in bulk feature.
Okay. Although that allows you to move an issue to a different project, not to a different
you're right.
group. So probably not. But
you're right.
But I think we're long overdue the component, so we're probably going to end up ultimately going off on a tangent. And
yeah, also because I won't be able to actually use a drop down. I will need to create a search, filtered search token.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will.
How does this work at the moment, Marco? Is it a project GID or
Yeah, that's another thing that confused me the first time because I had to look at the code. And yeah, that's the GID of the project, not the full path.
Gotcha.
And that's
We're definitely going to struggle to get that in even with a feature flag. I wonder if there's a simple solution that we can.
Simplest solution would be to add a new filter on the time logs resolver to use the full path of the namespace instead of the ID.
Maybe. How so I'm going to be selfish and think about what I want to use this report for more than anything. And because we know that we've got to prioritize, right? We know that we want 1,000,001 things on here, and we've got to find a way to kind of say, well, let's go for this or this or this. So what you don't actually have on there, and you called this out at the beginning, is any date filtering. Now, date filtering for me would be the most important, the number one thing to be able to, for me as an individual, to be able to look at my own sort of time logs.
Yes.
Or sorry, my own, or even the team's time logs from like a day, a week, or a month to do billing, etc. So, what if we were to get rid of project and group filters initially and actually have a start and a date. So start with that. I think keep the user as well. Because now, how does that work at the moment? Is that on GID or is that on username?
Username.
Awesome. Perfect. So I think that with username and then a date range, albeit I don't know what components we've got for doing dates, but I'm sure we have got a component.
Oh, we have a date time. We have a date picker, and I just can create a start. And
beautiful. So yeah, my personal. How do you feel about that? Starting the first iteration with a username, a sort of, and a date range.
Yeah, that's also one of the things that I didn't like about creating, opening an MR like this, because project and group provided as GIDs is basically unusable.
So the next, well, I guess what we need to figure out is what we really think is the minimal, like what more needs to happen to push this through as the very first piece of the puzzle behind the feature flag. So I think adding that date range, removing project and group might be enough in itself to have the first MR through. You've just assigned me, haven't you? So I can have a look. I'm interested to know how big it is at this moment in time. Oh, all of a sudden I've got 4 review requests. I better set my status to busy.
It's not too big, but keep in mind.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. No, that's good.
Because that's still lacking all the specs.
Oh, okay. But things like updating the routes, one little entry in the routes, the language, the pot file, there's a few that are sort of you can almost ignore. So I quite like that. So I think if we were to scrap the project and group and add a date range in there, I feel like this might be good enough to get through for the first one behind a feature. So again, you're going to add a couple of, at least one, I suppose, the YAML for the feature flag. But that would be really awesome. I've got loads of other sort of, it would be nice to do this and we want this and
there's a lot of stuff that I would love to introduce, but iterating.
Let's focus on getting something live, because you're going to make loads of people really happy. And I also, maybe I'm optimistic or being overly optimistic, but wonder if there are any people following any time tracking related issues that we can post updates on to try and reel them in and see if they want to collaborate and help in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, definitely, because this is still, because one feature that will be needed will be to export these time logs, and
that would probably be like really high up on my list as well, actually, because being able to have a look. So as an individual, I might use it to have a look at like what I've personally been doing today, and just make sure that I haven't forgotten to log any time, for example. And then sort of as a team or a company or group or whatever, I'd probably be looking, you want to do a weekly timesheet to bill a customer. So then all of a sudden you've got the introduction of being able to filter down based on CRM stuff.
Yes.
And being able to export, because having to do paging and like print screening or copy pasting or whatever obviously isn't going to work. So I think that's they're definitely high up on the list. And then group and project filters are reasonably high up as well, but actually I think that the export, I don't know, they're around about the same maybe. Different ways of, but if we can get it to a state where it's kind of easy to add, like we're going to add this or add that. The other big thing for me would be understanding how, because I don't know that I've really seen this before, how can we make the columns configurable?
Yes, exactly. That's another thing that I would like to do.
I've got ideas, but maybe it's a really good opportunity to reach out. I know it was Nick that helped us with some of the sort of design brainstorming initially. Is he still in the same role, or?
Yes, as far as I know.
Cool. So maybe it's another good opportunity to rope Nick in, and I know he's spent quite a lot of time helping us already, like with ideas and that. But I think this is a very specific question.
Yes.
Around, are we aware of anywhere else in the code base that we have configurable columns, and how we might sort of tackle that for the export? No, I'm not actually. I was going to say I might be happy if we just sort of included all the columns and they can just get rid of the ones they don't want, use the ones they do want. But thinking about I don't know how it's going to be. Yeah, that's interesting actually. So you're doing a X amount of stuff in the front end, right? So you're using GraphQL to get the data.
Yeah.
And then in the front end, you're using that to like render the badges and the avatar and doing other bits and pieces.
Yes.
Just wondering how that would translate for the CSV export. I'm guessing we would want to generate the CSV or CSV, Excel, whatever we're going to export. I'm guessing we'd want to try and do that on the back end. We wouldn't want to do it on the front end.
Yeah, I guess so. So we are gonna need a REST API for that, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about the API. It's more thinking about sort of duplication of work. I know it's not exactly, but if you're doing things to like render, I guess you're not going to render a badge or a label or whatever you want to call it in the CSV, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, I mean, if we want to export that to a CSV, we're going just to have a column with the text open, close, or stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe we just have to hold our hands up and say that we realize and we accept the fact that we're going to need completely separate, kind of duplicate, but not duplicate, just separate code to do the report generation for the front end versus the report generation for the back end. We'll be using a shared time logs finder, which accepts the same arguments and returns the relevant time logs, but ultimately the thing that renders the output, it's a view component for the front end, but it's some back end, I don't know what it would be, like a library component, what's it?
Yeah.
for the CSV or whatever export we're going to do. So yeah, awesome. I don't think there's a ton more to sort of cover on that. I don't know if you want to do some hacking now on it, some coding, or if you want to discuss something else. Or
well, if you want, we could have a look at putting this behind the feature flag. That sounds well.
Yeah, it's reasonably straightforward process. So yeah, let's do it.
My cats are fighting because why they want to fight every time I'm on stream. So GitLab develop docs feature flags.
I don't think you can click on that link, can you? Just
what link?
It's on our screen. I don't know if you can, but at least I've shared it for them to.
Okay. Create a new feature flag.
So yeah, we've got an MR already, which is good because one thing that I often get caught out by is you need to link the MR in the feature flag. So
yeah. So let me do this. Okay. Feature flag. Not my feature flag because that's not a good name. Time tracking reports. Or should we do global time tracking reports?
I like the addition of global because time tracking, like that is a time tracking report. It's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, but this will allow us to, once we have the global time tracking stuff done, or at least almost done, we could do project and group.
True. Although, yeah, yeah. Let's just go with this. That's a good start, I think.
Development.
Yep.
Is there a group? Oh, this is group plan.
I believe so.
Plan is actually the stage in that group.
Good point. I'm gonna edit that later.
That's fine. Yeah, all it's doing is generating the YAML for you. So
yeah, exactly. URL of the MR, and this is it. Open this. I'm filling the rest of the details. Well, we don't have a rollout issue yet. So
again, you probably some reviewers, maintainers will let you push it through without, but you probably end up just easier to create the rollout issue and add it at a later stage. But before we get this pushed forward.
And look, because I don't remember which group it is.
The label on the MR said project management, so I think you would want to go with project management as group.
Yep. I'm just gonna copy and paste it because I always get. Yeah, come on. Project management. Do you have to put quotes in?
I don't think so, but let me find another one while you're beavering away, so you don't have to.
Okay. So yes, this is done. And now, let me check. I guess we just.
No, there's no quotes in. So.
Okay, I'm gonna remove them. Okay, and I guess we just have to put the roots behind the feature flag.
Good question. I've never done it myself, but I'm sure it's been done. So let's see if we can find a route.
Feature feature. That's not a feature flag call inside here. Nice. So how do I check if the feature flag?
I wonder if this might not be possible because the routes that are initialized when the app is initialized. So I
Okay.
don't
And the
think,
documentation says not to put any feature flag checks into any initializers because that would require a restart.
yeah, perfect. Thank you. Would you mind sharing the link from where you found that? Forgive me if it's right in front of us already, but
It was. I don't have the link currently because I remembered that, but I can look it up.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. It's really good just to know that. Thank you. In which case, yeah, I think that. So what would we do? They hit it and it routes to it. In the controller, we could render a 404.
Oh, okay. So let me go to the controller. Okay, so on the controller.
Are we going to scope it to user, I guess, and it'll be the current user as opposed to the user that you're running the time tracking report for?
I guess so. Why are you asking?
I can't think how else we'll scope it, if that makes sense.
Scoping what?
The feature flag.
Oh, okay. Yes. Oh, yeah, because we need to scope it to a user.
Well, we don't need to scope it to a user, but we need to scope it to something. And the only thing that I can think that would really work is the user because it's a global time tracking report.
Yeah, exactly. So we can scope it to the user making the request. And controllers.
Oh, by the way, it was already on the page you were on, just another point where not in view.
Oh, I'm just having a look at how to return a 404 if.
Yeah, let me see if I can find
Next.
Oh,
next.
okay. I was almost there. Okay, so enabled, and this is global time report and scope to the current user. No, not save this one. And I guess that this is now going to return a 404, hopefully.
Has ever a weirder sentence been uttered?
Called multiple times in this action. Oh, I need to do a return.
Interesting. Is that what it did in the one example you?
New or register show index. Oh, this is not doing the same stuff. So
maybe search for the same render underscore 404.
Yeah. rescues.
There don't seem to be any instances, do there, where it's then doing something else.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Could you go back to our time logs controller?
Sure.
Do you think we don't need that render there at all? Do you think that that's the default behavior?
We can try.
So now I think, well, let's do it without it first, but then when we uncomment the feature bit, hopefully it'll still work as well.
Okay, this is working. So
yeah, this is obviously default behavior that a view is rendered. Yeah.
So I wonder what happens because I'm not returning. Oh, okay, it's working.
So now you enable the feature flag.
Yes, GK Rails G. And
I shouldn't say it, but we're close enough to the end of the session to risk it, I think. But I like it when things work.
No, why did you say that? I don't remember how to enable a feature flag.
Feature.enable, open brackets, and then it's a symbol.
Yes. Basically this will
that's asking if it's enabled.
Yeah.
or not.
Yes, but I can remove this.
Exactly.
Global time tracking report. True. Okay. Yes.
Beautiful.
Awesome. So, okay, next up is removing the group and project filter and the start and date filter. The feature flag was done.
Yep.
And
the other nitpick I might have, could you show me the report again?
Yeah.
How would you feel about, I suppose it's the ticket column, but moving the badge to one of the other columns? Because the ticket column is the one that's going to, the ticket column and maybe the note column are the ones that are always most likely going to wrap, right?
Yeah.
And by putting it where you put it in the ticket column, it always stretches it further, if that makes sense.
Okay.
If you could put it somewhere else, I just don't really know where it would best sit, but
I don't know where to put it because, to be honest, as it is right now, it's hard to. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter if all you want is just have a look at what you did, but it's hard to tell that this ticket, for example, and this other ticket, this and this are the same ticket. So what I would like to have is group them together and then, for example, expand and see the stuff. And that expansion card, I don't know how you want to call it, would have the badge.
Yeah. If I can redact it, I'll share some sort of examples of how some of my old time tracking reports look. They don't look that sexy, but they are incredibly functional. So
yeah,
you're right. Like here, even just having the issue ID would probably be helpful because it would allow you to see which ones are the same. But you don't want to keep adding more and more and more to this.
Yes, and that's mainly. I don't even know how to do that on the UI side because we have to do some grouping, but then, for example, here I'm fetching, I guess, 20 items per page.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. As soon as you want to start grouping, you've then got to do something server side or start thinking about, are you just going to start loading them all and get a page at a time and wait until you've got all of them? And if there's more than 1,000 or so, then you tell them to bugger off.
Boring solution would be to always get 20 or so and group them on the front end. And if, for example, all 20 time logs are related to the same ticket, you're going to see one ticket, you expand it, and have the 20 results.
Yeah, but again, that's way more complicated and down the line. So it's just that badge, that pill, that label, whatever you want to call it, is causing the section to grow. That is frustrating me, but I personally can't think of a nice way of like putting it in one of the other columns. Like the user column doesn't seem right because it's reflecting the ticket status, not the and
I can always add another column with the state and have it live it by itself.
Yeah, I don't know, but then that sort of squidges it that way more. So you're 6 to 1, half dozen to the other, really, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'll let you think about that. I don't think it's a blocker at the moment in time. So
no, at least we're having a report.
What's that? Sorry.
Yeah, that's not a blocker. At least we have a report kind of working.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe even just moving it to the beginning of the line actually, and not having a line feed in there, so it comes before the ticket title. Because the ones that are short, time tracking, test issue, test work item, those wouldn't wrap, and that might squidge it all up a little bit.
Yes, do you mean to make it, for example, occupy only the first line and then have the text go below the peel or the label?
Well, I wouldn't force a line feed, if that makes sense. So put the badge, the label before the descriptor or title. And
Wait,
then,
this is a really simple fix. Let's try it.
I know it's going to look awkward in certain scenarios.
Not necessarily. Where is it? Here, display this and do like this. Oh, come on. Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it squidged it up more, hasn't it? So
yes, it did. And if I do remove this, I have to do it on everyone. God, this is.
Should we remove the filter boxes while we're there as well? Because that's a quick win.
Fill box?
The project and group ones, seeing as we're gonna.
Oh yeah, that's going
it's
to
the
be
easy bit rather than adding the.
Yeah, I mean, I only have to remove code.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing that's definitely further down the line that would be reasonably high up, probably on my list to maybe try and have a look at, would be getting the filter criteria into the URL and vice versa.
Yes.
Because I think wanting to favorite these reports is or share, bookmark, whatever you want to call it, is a definite sort of something that you're going to want to.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to do. But I think that's going. I mean,
it's definitely not for this MR. That's
no, not this. But I think that next thing I want to work on for this is to actually have the search filter bar.
Oh, okay.
And that's going to have the URL basically as a already handle.
I see what you mean. You can leverage been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my next thing, which will mean adding support for not a lot, but some new.
Yeah, because we haven't got the date picker or time picker right for filtered search bar yet.
Yes, and to be honest, if I add that token, we're going to be able to also use that for filtering issues and the Mars, and that's going to be quite useful.
Yeah, and hopefully pipelines.
Yeah, exactly. So let me go to this one. This one, and do this, and do this. Yay, we removed the project and group filters.
Beautiful.
Okay, so yes, I can add the start and end date and then do the awful stuff on writing specs for this stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, well, to be honest, the specs shouldn't really be too complicated because I have 2 components to test, and that's it.
Yeah. Do you? I really shouldn't be thinking this or saying this, but so one of the things, I raised the question about being able to filter pipelines by date. So the funny thing is, it's using the REST API, and from what I can see, the REST API already supports those as parameters, as arguments. So if I can find a way to sort of jam those arguments into the API call, like as a sort of front, you know what I mean? Like as a hack almost, like not in the interim until I or somebody contributes that feature. So here, but you've removed those boxes, but I suspect you haven't updated like the GraphQL parsing and handling and other bits and pieces.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, like, whether is there an Easter egg approach that we can or should steer very, very clear of, to allow someone like me or you to better utilize this report before it's actually got all of its singing and dancing functionality.
Oh, so you mean supporting additional fields from the URL?
That's probably asking a bit much. But I don't know off the top of my head what other solution. Like maybe if you unhid those boxes that you put in, that you just removed, those filters.
Yeah.
Or say, when I say unhid, I actually mean hide. So revive them, but set them to hidden, so that.
Oh, okay.
I'm probably going to get shot for saying it. But,
this is not even a feature flag. This is a.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the argument is don't even hide them. Maybe showing them is absolutely fine, even if you do have to put those global IDs in, and those global IDs are slightly non-trivial to find.
Yeah.
I guess again we can rope somebody into feedback on that.
Yeah, I can always leave them in there and see what they what the reviewers say. I mean,
let's face it, who's going to have access? On GitLab.com, the only people going to have access are the people that the product team give access that enable the feature flag for. And on self-managed, it's kind of down to them a bit, isn't it?
To be honest, I would like to get at least the search bar in before enabling it as an internal testing.
Yeah.
I mean, I want it to be at least usable. I know that username and start and end date will be almost usable, but being able to filter by project or group is kind of a requirement.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really does depend on the use case. I think even just being able to do date and time without username would meet some people's needs. With username, we'll tick even more boxes, but then exporting is going to start getting quite high up on the list.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm like ultimately, you're now leading the way. Although I'm happy if you want me to try and push something up to this MR, it's in the community fork, so we can collaborate.
Mhm.
I'm happy for you to make some decisions, pull some people into the MR for some feedback on a few things. But we'll try and do as little as possible to get this merged. And as I say, that should get some people excited. And hopefully, ensure that we keep some traction and movement on it.
Yeah, I don't know if it. I could also tag in Nick and have him have a look at the UI to see if there's something that we might have to tackle before we go too deep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, I think I'm going to push up these changes, maybe add the start and end date filter,
Yes.
then have him have a look before I write tests for something that I have to remove.
Yeah. No, that sounds good.
Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Calling it a day now?
Yes, I guess so.
Sounds good. I'm hungry.
Me too.
Have a great afternoon. Thanks for joining us, Nicholas. And
Yes.
yeah, speak to you all soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.